Hey, this is C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my post-fight analysis for UFC 186. Overall, actually not a bad card considering the injuries that happened and just how I want to use the word like shallow the card is in the sense of just relevance. It's not a terribly relevant. There aren't too many fights that have much divisional relevance, and also it's not a heavy like blue chip prospect type card. Overall, it was entertaining enough. There were some good performances for sure. I didn't really, but considering I didn't have too high of expectations of the card, I didn't find it boring. So I actually found it just, I'd say solid, solid, not spectacular. Except for that very end with Johnson versus Horiguchi. I thought that was just so slick. My picks are really good, 11 out of 12. Pretty much, if you picked outside, the one I missed was Alexis Davis versus Sarah Kaufman. If I'm not mistaken, though, all the favorites won. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, all the favorites won except for Davis versus Kaufman. So it's definitely not a good card to pick the underdogs. Bonuses, performance of the night went to Thomas Almeida and Demetrius Johnson. And fight of the night went to Chad LaPriest versus Brian Barberena. One thing to note of this card is I felt that this card was really heavy on technique over aggression. You can see the technique of Johnson being able to stifle Horiguchi and his blitzes. Rampage over Maldonado's. It was a lot more technique over Maldonado's. I don't know if the word was aggression, but just like non-technique, Jackson Maldonado, you kind of see it. Bisping Dawei, you can't even see it. Chad LaPriest, at least in the first and second round, over Brian Barberena. Olivier Aben Mercier versus David Machad. You kind of saw it too. Nordine Tala versus Chris Clement. You got to see this technique over aggression or versus just like not as good technique. And almost like sloppy technique, That's what, I don't really know what to say to call it, just technique over aggression, I suppose. Let's get started. Demetrius Johnson defeated Kyoji Horiguchi by armbar, 4 minutes and 59 seconds into the 5th round. So, this was a record-setting submission and finish. I mean, it was the latest, it may be the latest that a fight's ever been finished, and it's also the latest that a fight's ever been finished via submission, by an armbar, straight armbar to be, or just an armbar to be more exact. After the first and second round, I mean, the way the fight went, Johnson pretty much dominated. It seemed like he got Horiguchi's timing, got him to back up, made him waste a lot of energy, managed to get takedowns a lot easier in the later rounds. Horiguchi did get his own takedown once, but Johnson just got back to his feet. Johnson was really good at holding Horiguchi down, which is really hard to do at flyweight. So I'm actually very impressed with that. And like I said, the finishing sequence was just amazing. I mean, I was just watching amazing happen in a sense. It was just the takedown to the side mount to the crucifix to the mount and the way he slid into the armbar. I mean, everything was just picture perfect, fantastic sequence. It was so clean. Just such a clean finishing sequence. By armbar, no less. It is a pretty, at the highest level of MMA, it's a relatively low percentage move. You're more likely to see like a rear naked choke or something like that than, and you actually just see less arm bars in the UFC. I mean, granted, you saw one get in Davis versus Kaufman, but you just see it a lot less these days. With that said, with Demetrius Johnson, I mean, one of the problems with him is that there are no one in the division seems to present any like legit threats. I mean, I think fighters will eventually get there. Henry Cejudo, Ray Borg, two guys that can definitely get up there. Rematch with Dodson wouldn't be too bad, but for the most part, you can kind of consider him clean out the division in a sense. Obviously, there's guys like Makovsky, Formiga, Dodson rematch. There are guys he can fight, but like, it's a sense of like he beat the guys that seemingly provide on paper a legit challenge for Johnson. So shows who Johnson gets next. If you can move up to 135 and take some fights there, that'd be cool. Otherwise, the winner of Dodson versus Makovsky would be it's a good number one contender fight. Or Hussein Formiga if he beats Wilson Hayes. Horiguchi, he can get the loser of Benavidez versus Moraga. Maybe the loser of one of those fights that I just mentioned. Horiguchi, this fight really did show too much too soon. It's there. Like in a couple years, maybe he can challenge Dodson. But at this point, Dodson's just way too good, way too technical, way too fast. It's everything. His corners and even the cornering is like more advanced than everyone else. Between rounds, Matt Hume's corner it's all technical. It's not like go get him. Like Rogan was saying it, but it's true. It was all technical advice. So he's very far ahead, just in like so many aspects of the game. Next fight was that Quinton Rampage Jackson defeated Fabio Maldonado by unanimous decision. I liked what I saw from Rampage here. He showed a really diverse skill set. He was throwing a jab, threw some leg kicks, threw some knees. He went for a head kick, threw in combination. Was moving his head. He looked good. He looked like a very solid fighter, a guy that can get wins in the UFC. Maldonado was just kind of him, but less volume. Granted, Maldonado actually went for a takedown, which is pretty crazy, and got it. One thing that Rampage was really doing is when Maldonado would get Rampage's back against a cage, Rampage was really good at like tying him up in ways, whether it's like underhook and like an over under or some double underhooks or something like that didn't allow Maldonado, because what Maldonado will do is he'll try and attack the body especially and get his short hooks when he has his opponent up against the cage. But Rampage was actually really good at nullifying Maldonado's offense from a position that Maldonado likes. He likes to be up close and getting his opponent's back against the cage and unloading with strikes when he can. So I actually really liked what I saw out of Rampage here. Maldonado showed the great chin, which was to be expected. With that said, I don't want to really see Rampage getting like Gustafsson or like Cormier or anyone like that next. I'm thinking, I don't know when Fejao is coming back, but Rampage versus Fejao would be cool. I know Jimmy Manuel was out for a while, but Manuel versus Rampage actually wouldn't be too bad. I think ideally, probably the winner of Shogun versus Rogerio Nogueira versus Rampage would be pretty ideal at this point for Rampage. Just get him some name value fights, and that will be cool. Maldonado, just more like mid to lower tier guys of the division. Next fight after that, Michael Bisping defeated CB Dollaway by unanimous decision. Bisping was having trouble with Dollaway's left hook counter, and Dollaway like spammed it. He would just throw that left hook counter, and Bisping was actually falling for it, and actually he had a scare in the first round because he got, he took a left hook counter that dropped him. But he managed to rally back in the second and third. The guy just, for whatever reason, just does not have power in his strikes. He's a guy, quite honestly, that if he did have some power in his striking and could legitimately knock opposition down, I mean, he would be a beast. He has some defensive liabilities, though. Drops his right hand a lot. That's how Vitor Mans get the head kick. And then how Dollaway is able to get the left hook counter. Drops it a lot. It is just something in his about his defense that gets broken really easily. Otherwise, good performance from Bisping. It keeps him in that discussion. Maybe the problem with Bisping though is he's getting older, but he doesn't look like he slowed down that much. He actually looks better. He has the eye thing though, which may he's had surgery on his eye, and I don't know if he can see that well out of it. The thing is, the division's just got so much better. His window of opportunity for getting a title shot, it's more or less done. The guys that he'd have, the top 5 guys, talk about Vitor who's lost to, Rockhold who's lost to. Probably lose to Machida if they fought. Jacare would probably beat him. Those guys. Yoel Romero would probably beat Bisping. That's the top 5. And it's unless they make Bisping just totally bypass those guys and he manages to get those wins. Say he fights Musashi next, and then for some reason they give Bisping the title shot or something. And I don't see him beating Musashi anyways. I don't see him getting a title shot. I think he will end up being the best, pretty much the best fighter never to get a title shot. Not saying that he's a super great fighter or anything like that, but just as far as guys who's never gotten a title shot, he's probably the best one. And yeah, I can't see it. With that said, though, I think you should get more people around CB Dollaway's range. The Latizes, Tavares, Bosch. You can get the winner of Brad Tavares versus Robert Whittaker, the winner of Dan Henderson versus Tim Bosch, the winner of Musashi versus Philip Hu. Talis Latiz needs an opponent, or the winner of Uriah Hall versus Rafael Natal. See, the winner of Hall, especially if Uriah Hall beats Natal, Hall versus Bisping would actually be a pretty good fight. Dollaway could probably get the loser of those fights, one of those guys. I think that'd be an appropriate matchup for him. Next fight, I thought John McDessie defeated Shane Campbell by TKO in the first round. I guess someone pointed out some controversy here where McDessie dropped Campbell and was hitting the ground and pound. And Campbell goes for a takedown, and then McDessie actually blatantly grabs the cage. Nothing happens to him, drops him again, and gets a finish. And you gotta wonder what happened if he never grabbed the cage. With that said, it was still a good win for McDessie. He kind of had a relatively hard time with the kicks, but he was clearly the better boxer. His hands were just far superior to Shane Campbell's. Shane Campbell took the fight on short notice, so, give him another striker next time out. See how he can do. This is a good win for McDessie. It's hard to say. I don't really consider him much of a prospect, but at this point, just something of an action fighter himself. So with that said, I think he's just got more strikers next time out as well. Next fight after that, Thomas Almeida defeated Yves Dubuin by TKO in the first round. Almeida's he's a blue chip prospect in my eyes. I think he's just moving up the bantamweight ladder. One thing you gotta like about this guy's offense, he hits the body and the head, and he goes from head to body, body to head a lot of times. Even in finishing sequences, he will go to the body to end to the head. I thought it was a good performance, a good showcase fight. Dubuin is a guy that'll probably oblige him in the stand-up. Did get a takedown on Almeida, but nonetheless, Almeida managed to get back to his feet and eventually get was there a right hand that started the finishing sequence. Almeida just needs more cage time, you know. Especially guys that'll try and take him down. I don't know if he can really work his high volume striking style. But, you know, we should see. It's more lower to mid-tier guys of the division for both. Got into the prelims. Patrick Cote defeated Joe Riggs by unanimous decision. Not much I can really say. I'm not huge on these guys. They're both past their prime. You know, it's really not much I can really say about this fight. Riggs, I don't know if his time in the UFC is going to be long. He's lost 2 in a row now. Lost to Ben Saunders before this. I can see him getting cut from the UFC. Cote, just give him more mid to lower tier guys of the division. He's not a bad gatekeeper, actually. Right after that, Alexis Davis defeated Sarah Kaufman by armbar in the second round. There was some controversy here, not in the sense that of the victor or anything like that, just in the sense of the referee not seeing the tap. It was actually at a pretty weird angle. You know, but nonetheless, that is not a good look for the ref to miss a tap like that. Could cause serious injury to Sarah Kaufman. Just not good. Not a good look for the ref here. So it was a matter of tactical errors from Sarah Kaufman. Really, she was winning the fight up until the point she got taken down and mounted. And it's all tactical errors. You know, it's just she's winning the range battle. She would get the jabs and crosses and win that battle, you know. Get sometimes a short left hook. Sometimes you get an inside leg kick and whatnot. But for the most part, winning the striking. She went for the clinch. She was attacking from range, went for the clinch, walking forward, got pretty much tossed into mount. And from there, Davis goes for a triangle. Kaufman has Davis pinned up against the cage. Tactical error 2. You know, 1, it's going for that clinch. She didn't need to go for the clinch. She's winning the range battle. So it's kind of like, why do you need to clinch Davis? What's the point? You're winning at this range. Stay at this range. Why close the range? You know, and be in at least a better position for Alexis Davis to try and take Kaufman down. You know. So that's tactical error number 1. This is tactical error number 2, and it's something Kaufman is really bad at. And something that needs to be addressed with her. She's lost 3 fights by armbar, but that's not just it. This is the second time. The first time was against Marlis Kunin, where she got armbarred mid ground and pound. So she's getting triangle choked. And what she's doing is throwing down punches and hammer fists with one arm, with the right, I think it's the right hand, while the left hand is left unaware. If you watch the Marlis Kunin fight, she's on top. She's throwing ground and pound, not very cognizant of her arm, and gets armbarred. This is something that's happened to her. It's 2 times in a row now, you know? And all 3 of her losses are by armbar. So, you know, something's there. It's a tactical error from Kaufman. What she could have done, something I even learned, you know, it's just get the gable grip, get your, your arms and stuff as close to your body as possible, start shaking off, start posturing up and whatnot. Saved me from getting armbarred a couple times. So she could have definitely done that. Instead of trying to rain down ground and pound from a relatively bad position. Like, that's not necessarily the best position to be launching ground and pound as it is. You're in triangle trouble. You're still in submission danger. You know, and it's best to just get out of submission danger before throwing ground and pound, you know. So, big tactical error from Kaufman there, and a good one for Davis, and a much needed one for Davis here, because, she lost to Ronda Rousey before this fight, badly, 16 seconds, Kaufman didn't fare too well against Ronda Rousey. She lost her in like 50 seconds or something like that. Less than a minute. I know that. I'm pretty sure it's less than a minute. But, good one for Davis. I'd like to see Davis. They're probably going to do Miesha Tate versus Jessica Ai as a number 1 contender fight. I don't really want to see Miesha Tate fight Ronda Rousey again. I'd rather just get anyone against Ronda Rousey besides Miesha Tate. Unless Jessica Ai wins, that'd be cool. Ai versus Rousey wouldn't be too bad. I'd like to see Davis get the winner of Tate versus you know what? Actually, I'd like to see either of these two get Miesha Tate win or lose. There's kind of this group that should be fighting each other. It's pretty much like the group of fighters that have lost to Ronda Rousey. Besides Miesha Tate, Sarah McMahon. Sarah McMahon versus Alexis Davis. Well, McMahon's coming off a loss, so McMahon Kaufman would be cool. Who else has lost to Ronda? I'd say Carmouche, but both of these fighters have beaten Carmouche already. If you want to go with the prospects, you could go Marion Reneau versus Alexis Davis. Wouldn't be too bad. And then you give Jessica Andrade versus Kaufman or something like that. You can go that route too. These two aren't the best to give bantamweight prospects, but there's definitely a level of competition. Betts Correia managed to just avoid Tate, Kaufman, Davis, McMahon, all of them to get her title shot. Because they're all very dangerous and they're all very capable of defeating prospects. Next one is that Chad LaPriest defeated Brian Barberena by unanimous decision. I thought this was technique over aggression. Especially, LaPriest had a really good first round. He was fading in the second and third round, but it wasn't like he was gassed to the grit, gassed out super hard. He's not bending over and his hands are on his knees. His hands are so up, he's still countering. What it is with LaPriest is his output lowered, but I still felt he was still fighting a technical fight. And Barberena doesn't have that technical acumen. It's not in his game. He's a pressure fighter. He can make brawls. He makes fights ugly. That's how he wins fights. LaPriest is just far too technical. better counter striker and whatnot. I don't really find Chad Priest or Brian Barberena, for that matter, to be like, these guys aren't like blue chip prospects, but they're like decent prospects. LaPriest is a perfect, like, I see he's seeing more of a gatekeeper type because he's technical everywhere. You know, his grappling's not too bad. He was hard to take down. His takedown defense is good. You can see it in his last fight against just Denis Sedano. You know, he has some offensive takedown ability. He can take the back and whatnot. And then he's really technical in the stand up. So I can, you know, but I don't see like a top 10 level ceiling for him. Maybe not even top 15, but the way lightweight is, it's that good. But I can see him being more of something of like a very solid gatekeeper type, you know. Barberena, to his upside, I don't see much upside with him. They're good, solid fighters. They deserve to be in the UFC. But, yeah, Barberena just doesn't have the technical acumen to compete with some of these just killers in lightweight, you know. With that said, just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both. Next round, that Olivier Aubin-Mercier defeated David Machado by rear naked choke in the third round. I actually like what I see out of Aubin-Mercier. I'm very curious to see how his development goes and where his ceiling lies. I wouldn't really say he's a blue chip prospect, but I think he is a very good one. He has some very high level grappling. He's very good at taking the back, which is always a good thing to have. His striking still needs a lot of work. He's pretty stiff with his strikes. You know, he doesn't like snap his punches per se. But the way his striking looks like, it looks like it's just in that constant like work in progress type of thing. I mean, this doesn't look like the finished product of his striking. Machado, you know, he's still young. He's still pretty much a prospect himself, but like, I don't really know what type of fighter he is in a sense. Like, I think he has a wrestling background, but sometimes he'll strike with his opponents, and he's not like a super great takedown artist or anything like that. Aubin-Mercier was the much better grappler, and it showed in this fight. Good win for him. Just he needs more cage time, just more lower to mid guys in the division for both, really. On the Fight Pass prelims, Nordine Talib defeated Chris Clements by unanimous decision. Definitely the most complete performance I've seen from Talib. You know, just good, he's hitting some good counters. His striking seemed to be on point. He was pressuring Clements a lot of times. So, and also his grappling looked pretty good as well. That's actually the most complete I've seen out of Talib. With him, just, you know, and Chris Clements is just kind of like an action fighter. There's really not much else to his game except being kind of something of a fun action fighter. With Talib, I don't consider him much of a prospect at this point. I think he's in his early 30s now, at welterweight. Had some very performances before too. Maybe he starts putting everything together and gets on a little run, though. I can definitely see that happening. But I think it reaches... It might hit a wall at some point. Regardless, just more lower to mid-tier guys in the division for both. Next right after that, Valerie Letourneau defeated Jessica Riccozzi by unanimous decision. I can't see the UFC keeping a fighter who has a pro record of 1 win and 5 or 6 losses. You know, it's not a good look. 2 losses in a row. Riccozzi just, you know, it's just, I think it's just too late in the game for her. You know, she's younger. You know, she can start out as a boxer and progressively work on her grappling. Grappling still needs a lot of work. She's in some trouble, like some triangle trouble from Latornu. Rakoczy's takedown defense is alright, but it's not great by any. Or Rakoczy's. I can actually see Rakoczy get cut by the UFC. Latornu, the thing with strawweight is that strawweights are just getting better. She's good. I would say her ceiling at strawweight would be something more of a fun action fighter at this point. Not the worst thing to be in women's strawweight, and not the worst thing to be in the UFC. It's fine. She's got more lower to mid-tier fighters at women's strawweight. And finally, Ronda Marcos defeated Aisling Daly by unanimous decision. With Marcos, raw. That's the thing. She's super raw, but she's good. I think she's a solid prospect. Wrestling base always helps in women's MMA. I still cannot count 10 female fighters that have any type of wrestling pedigree. She hits hard too. So that's the thing with Marcos. I see potential in her. I definitely see potential in her. But yeah, she definitely needs to fix the technical gaps in her striking. Even her wrestling could use some help there. The thing that Marcos needs the most help in, though, is cardio. She does not have good cardio at all. She really needs to work on that aspect of her game. But yeah, like I said, solid prospect. I thought someone like Jessica Pena was a little too much too soon for her. She's still pretty new at this MMA thing. That's the thing. Whereas Aisling Daly, she's been around the block. She's a good gatekeeper type for women's strawweight. Really tough. Not very technical, but her opponent pretty much will have to fight the whole 15 minutes against Daly. With Marcos, though, she can get... just trying to think who's there. Maybe... if you want to go with the winner of Rose Namajunas versus Nina Ansaroff, that wouldn't be the worst thing to do. Valerie Latornu actually wouldn't be too bad either. So there's competition for her. Just give her more cage time, really. So that's it for my post-fight analysis for UFC 186. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.